So now we are on chapter number 6, the title of which is Present Holds the Key to Eternal Victory. In the last chapter, we really established the foundation that you, the Lotus Sutra, and life of the original Buddha, Shakyamuni, are one. And when you chant and practice with the feeling that this very moment could be my last, you naturally bring forth your highest life state, which is Buddhahood, and within this lifetime, right? Herein, right now. In chapter 6, now we will take that understanding deeper. So it helps us see that present moment is not just important, it's everything. The way we live now is what shapes not only our happiness today, but also determines the quality of our last moment and ultimately our eternal journey. Right? So, with that intent, let's start the chapter 6. Most crucial time is now. Daishonin says something very profound, that if someone chants with the realization that this may be my last moment, such a person attains Buddhahood in this lifetime and experiences deep peace even at the moment of death. This is not meant to scare us, it's meant to empower us. When we live with this awareness, we live with greater hope. We live with greater appreciation and greater courage. Our days are not spent in regret or fear, but in joy and confidence. And when someone lives like this consistently, their life and their death both becomes filled with unshakable joy. Now, living the present fully and responsibly, it means what? It means that to dedicate yourself 100% to the present moment. It means that you treat current actions with utmost care and responsibility. You are not living in past, or you are not living in future, right? So past memories, sometimes we may be 50-year old but we are still living in the past glory, or we may be 20-year old and living in the future, and it may gives us anxiety. Present is something where karma is created and life is transformed. That is the meaning of living in the present fully and responsibly. And like we discussed, the last moment determines next existence, right? So think of it like that, that the last moment is the last accounting entry, the accounting of the entire lifetime. And this last moment determines the direction of next existence. So whatever mindset we have at death, that causes the to produce future effect, right? But do we know our last moment? No. It's like a known unknown. We know we are going to die. When it is going to happen, we don't know. Since we don't know our last moment, the best way is to treat every moment as the last moment.
What is the best way to solve this problem? Is to live each moment with profound understanding that it may be my last moment. With this realization, exert yourself in present and exert yourself in bodhisattva way of practicing. Wherever you are, whatever resources you have, whatever capability you have. Don't wait कि जब ये हो जाएगा तब मैं करूँगा. That is living in future. मैंने इतना काम किया है पहले. That is living in the past. Live in the present. इट शुड नॉट हैपन दैट मेरे को बड़ा घर हो जाएगा, कार हो जाएगी तो मैं प्रैक्टिस करूँगा या फिर मैं ये काम कर पाऊँगा. नो, वेर एवर यू आर, वॉट एवर कैपेबिलिटी यू हैव, डू the work of Bodhisattva way. Not in past memories, don't live in past memory, past glories, or past future. Not in future outcomes, but only and only in present. That's the meaning of chapter title, that present holds the key to eternal victory. Right? Now, how to cultivate a correct and steadfast mind, right? Maintaining right thought and unwavering faith and conviction in mystic law, and not losing serenity or composure in the face of death. It may sound very simple, but it is not. correct? A mind that on approaching death feels deep satisfaction at having lived a life of no regrets and is filled with unsurpassed joy at having been able to embrace the mystic law. That is the mind. That is the correct and steadfast mind that we need to cultivate. Now, cultivating this kind of mind in the face of death is not easy, isn't it? It is not like that we will pretend or we will remember to bring forth that life state when last moment comes. It doesn't work like that, correct? It's not like that I remember myself and condition myself that okay, whatever way I'm living in the last moment, I'll feel full of, I'll feel unsurpassed joy, I'll feel no regret, I'll feel a fulfilled life. It will not work like that. The death is show us our true nature, our true behavior and true form. So we really need to cultivate this kind of life state in our day to day life. When we start living our day to day life with that life state, that correct and steadfast mind, then ultimately when the last moment come, it will be our second nature only that we will show that kind of a behavior, correct? And it means, what is the meaning of this life state in our present time? It means to embrace and fight with all your might with all challenges and struggle in present, not escaping them to some future time or lamenting over what happened in past. To start taking charge of your life, when we cultivate such life state day by day, week by week, year by year, so that it becomes our second nature, then by design when the last moment comes, we will be actually more joyful and embrace death with high life state and with open arms. So, if we really want to attain Buddhahood in this lifetime and continue in the realm of Buddha, then we have to make sure our last moment is full of unsurpassed joy, no regret, and living the life to the fullest from the Buddhist point of view. And to do that, we cannot fake it. We have to really internalize it. And the best way to internalize it when we start living in the present and do all the actions in the present in a Bodhisattva way. So life state developed today becomes life state at death. That's the bottom line, correct? Now this way of leading life means that we are conditioning ourselves, cultivating life state, which is full of life force, joy, and without any worry in our present. We are not holding on to things from past. We are not relying on a future event, but totally dedicating ourselves in present. And like we say that what you do in faith, that you will do in all sphere of your life. So this attitude will start reflecting in your personal life, professional life, in all your relationship. You will stop begrudging and cherish anything and everything. Even a walk in park will be cherished truly. So someone who live with the insight that now is one's last moment experience joy in both life and death. Such a person's both life and death are filled with joy. Joy continues unbroken and unceasingly, whether one is moving from life to death or from death to life. So, having a correct and steadfast mind at one's final moment also means overcoming the devil or hindrance of death, right? So, in the three obstacles and four devils, we discussed one of the devil or one of the hindrance is hindrance of death, and that hindrance of death is the most difficult of all. If we don't confront the three obstacles and four devils in our daily life, then we won't be able to defeat the hindrance of death. If we are not facing the three obstacles and four devils in our daily life, then what is the probability, what is the possibility I am going to defeat the three obstacles and four devils at the last moment of my life, right? That's the reason when we start living as if this moment is my last moment, we are training ourselves, we are equipping ourselves to not be defeated or frightened by the workings of devilish functions. When we live with this spirit, then our faith continues to grow stronger by stronger, day after day, month after month. Buddha is the one who has conquered over devil king of sixth heaven and hindrance of death and has attained a state of deathlessness. So that is the meaning of Buddha. And the only way we can overcome three obstacles and four devils, we can truly embrace the death with happy, joyfully, and open arms when we start living in the present in a joyful and responsible way. It is not YOLO. you only live once. It's not that attitude that jo karna hai karo, no problem. No, your every action in the present has a consequence, and the life is continuous, life is eternal in nature. So let me put all my efforts to make sure I am creating the best value in my present, right? And when we start doing it on a daily basis, then it will become our second nature. And that is what is something which is shown by Nichiren Daishonin himself. Nichiren Daishonin demonstrated how to act and defeat the hindrance of death. During Tatsunokuchi persecution, Shijo Kingo was alongside Nichiren, right? While the soldiers took Nichiren Daishonin to persecution site. Shijo Kingo tagged along with Nichiren at the risk of his own life. However, as the execution became imminent, when it was finally the time arrived, even Shijo Kingo cried tearfully. And he said, "There are your last moments." He said it to Nichiren Daishonin. Shijo Kingo, seeing his mentor, Nichiren Daishonin death imminent, and seeing the cruel nature of authorities, gave into the fear. However, Nichiren Daishonin instantly responded with a powerful lion's roar. "You don't understand. What greater joy could there be?" He showed what steadfast mind at the end of death looks like, how to defeat the devil king of sixth heaven and hindrance of death. So, if you observe that his life was full of hardships, challenges, life threatening attacks, and persecutions, isn't it? Daishonin moved to Sechuji temple, then from the age of 16 till 32, he wandered. He moved from one temple to another to get the real insights of Buddha's teaching. From the time he invoked Namyo Renge-kyo till the time he died at the age of 60, the entire period it was full of hardship, challenges, life-threatening attacks, and persecution, only because of upholding the heritage of the law. Even after that, Daishonin said, "Strengthen your faith day by day and month after month. Should you slacken in your resolve even a bit, devils will take advantage." So continuous faith is can be every moment has to be lived with the sense that that can be my last moment. So let's not postpone the home visit to the next week, next month. Let's not think that I'll start participating in the next discussion meeting. Let it be. I have done a lot of work. This time, let me take rest. That means I'm living in the past. And when I'm saying let me do in the future, let me do in the next discussion meeting, I'm living in the future. So whatever it is, I have to do it today. When we build this kind of a discipline on a daily basis, then ultimately we start winning and we start cultivating the steadfast mind. So there is a concept of received into hands of 1,000 Buddha. So Daishonin says that upon death, 1,000 Buddhas will greet and extend their hands to support and assist those who have dedicated themselves in faith. So what is the logic and what is the rationale behind it? So this allegory of 1,000 Buddhas originated from the fact that at that time the Nembutsu school of Buddhism had believed that upon death, Amida Buddha and two Bodhisattvas, Bodhisattva perceiver of world sound and great power, these are the name of two Bodhisattvas, would come to greet them from the paradise of pure land of perfect bliss. So this is the reason Nichiren Daishonin goes out of his way to stress the practitioner of Lotus Sutra that they will be greeted not only by one or two Buddhas or even 100 or 200 Buddha, but rather will be welcomed by 1,000 Buddhas. So that is the logic. That's how this phrase came into existence. So this is it. However, there are two important points from the point of view of having a steadfast mind at the time of death. So one question that generally comes is if someone who has died through accident or critical illness has actually attained Buddhahood or not. The person may have practiced, but they have died in a very dreadful accident or may have been through a critical illness. Now the answer is yes, resounding yes. It is faith alone that determines a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. Those who dedicated themselves earnestly to faith and gave their all until the very end are definitely on the path of birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Whatever form their death takes, they will be sure to have a correct and steadfast mind at the last moment. One should not fear the destruction of the body, but the destruction of the mind. So the illness, the accident can do the destruction of our body, but not mind. So we have to make sure we have a life force, we have a high life state, and we have a steadfast faith. So even when someone doesn't meet the or someone meet a very dreadful death, still they are bound to be in the realm of Buddhahood, because um, it is only a destruction of the body, not the destruction of mind. Because if the mind is destroyed, they will fall into three evil paths, right? So we should fear the destruction of mind, not body. Um, the other question that generally comes as part of the life and death in the realm of Buddhahood is, what is Buddhist view on suicide? So taking one's own life also signifies the fundamental darkness. So we are not respecting our life, not cherishing the life. So when we are actually dying, we are postponing the current struggle to some future date, right? So it's not like if you commit suicide, then you can escape the karma, you can escape the pain, and you can start afresh. No, you will continue to fuse with hellish life state in universe. And till the right time manifest, you will continue to experience the hellish life state. And when right time come, the life will manifest in hellish life state only. So, since life is eternal in nature, we must exert ourselves wholeheartedly in the present. So, somebody says, I'm giving up, I'm quitting, and have a suicidal tendency, then, boss, you are not doing anything good to yourself. If you don't fight out right now, if you don't come out of it and do a suicidal death, ultimately you are going into the same realm and you will continue in the same life state till the time you don't get manifested again, reborn again. And as of now, while you are in a human form, you can chant and you can uplift your life instantly based on the simultaneity of cause and effect. However, when you die and you move into the realm of Buddhahood, ultimately you won't be able to do that also. So you are completely helpless at that point of time, right? So, suicidal is something completely, banished or admonished in Buddhist view. Now, Lotus Sutra universality we have talked about. Let's talk about upgrading our life state. This is something we have discussed. Lotus Sutra universality we have already discussed in the last chapter, chapter 5. Now, the most important thing is, if we are living in the present, we need to upgrade our life state, correct? Like we discussed in the last chapter, that we need to get into Buddha's realm while we are alive. While we have this, because based on karmic storehouse we have accumulated, we all have certain tendencies. I'll create a new video talking about the 9 level of consciousness and how can we so battery is also about to get close. Let me see if I can plug in, just give me a minute. No, I don't think I'll be able to. So let's quickly finish this chapter. So essentially, we have to come over the three poisons: greed, anger, and foolishness. These are the greed, anger, and foolishness which comes in our life in the form of tendencies, right? And which tendency or the combination of tendency we have, that depends on the our karmic storehouse. And the main target is to move slowly and gradually by working in the present from the this lower life state to the life state of Buddhahood, right? And when we start moving from lower world to the Buddha's realm through practice the Bodhisattva way, and understanding that this may be my last moment, and with that faith, when we understand that my life, the life of Shakyamuni Buddha and Lotus Sutra is no difference, there is no difference at all, then only our dominant life state start becoming Buddhahood. And that's it. This is what the chapter is. These are the keywords which we talked about, and I have also written some short questions. Go through it. Thank you so much for watching the video.